This is Behind the Swipe, the podcast that takes you inside the lives of real men and women over 40 who have taken the plunge into the often murky and sometimes exhilarating world of online dating. Each week, we explore new topics through the experiences and expectations of real online daters just like you. I'm your host, Hoyt Prysock. Join me as we peel back the one-dimensional dating profiles to discover the real men and women behind the swipe. Sometimes you just have to have the difficult conversations. You know, the ones that deliver the really bad news. If you're a man in midlife or beyond, and you're on the dating apps, this difficult conversation is for you. Have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. You may not want to hear this, but there are people that care about you, and we are concerned. This, my friend, is your intervention. Here's the thing. You've been doing your dating profile all wrong. So wrong, in fact, that you're at serious risk of dying alone and lonely. Is that what you want? Is that what you deserve? What? What's that you say? I'm getting dates. My profile is fine. That may be right, in the same way that a stopped clock is right twice a day. The problem isn't you. It's the way you're presenting yourself online. 15 seconds. That's about how long you have the attention of the woman on the other side of that screen before they make that fateful decision. She knows that there are 100 other guys behind you in line. What makes you stand out in those precious few seconds? What will pique her interest and make her just curious enough to swipe right? Hint, it's not the photo of you with that prize fish you caught, and it's not the bathroom selfie. It's time to get serious, man. You wouldn't try to sell $1 million house with 2 faded Polaroid pictures and a mimeograph fact sheet. It's time to up your game. Today on Behind the Swipe, we're talking about what men get wrong in building their dating profiles and, more importantly, how they can get it right. Now, I don't claim to be an expert on this topic, and frankly, I'm skeptical of anyone that does make such claims. No. The real expertise on this topic lies with women on the other side of that screen, the ones who are making the split-second decisions on your profile. So today, I'm joined by 3 women who have made and are making those decisions. I sat down with Shay, Meghan, and Kathryn for a lively discussion on the good, bad, and the ugly of men's dating profiles. We'll also hear from Sharon, whose take-no-prisoners approach to dating profiles should serve as a much-needed wake-up call for those who have basically chosen to phone it in on their dating profile. So today, we are going to talk about men's online dating profiles. And the impression that I've gotten from all of the women that I've talked to, all of the women that I've talked to, is that universally, men present themselves poorly online. And I wanted to explore this. I wanted to explore why that is, how it manifests itself, and what men can do about it. We're going to change the format a little bit today because I'm going to talk to 3 of our daters, some of whom you've heard before on this podcast. And we are going to understand their impressions and their recommendations for how men can do better in presenting themselves online. Meghan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm in Atlanta. I'm a real estate investor, and I have been dating online off and on for probably, dare I say, a decade in between serial monogamy. I feel like I have a pretty good overview of what is out there. And, I like to tell people what to do, so I'm happy to be here.
I love that. And Shay, you might remember from an earlier episode of Behind the Swipe. Shay, welcome.
Thank you for having me. So I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time and got back into dating after a long marriage, and I got lucky and met a lot of guys, had a lot of fun. I'm now helping friends sort through their men, and like Hoyt says, there's some issues.
And Kathryn, we have
Yeah.
Kathryn here. You
Hey,
may
cheers,
recognize
ladies.
Kathryn's voice.
Um, okay, so I work for a financial firm and I've been divorced for a couple of years. But because I work in an industry where I meet a lot of men organically, I haven't been online that much. But I've been on long enough to know that these guys need our help.
And not only that, Kathryn, but I understand that you've got the reputation as the nice divorce girl whisperer and have helped a number of people build their profiles and create successful relationships online.
So I kind of have a knack for taking pictures and things like that. So it was a way that I could get an inside look at what other people were doing before I actually took the plunge and went online myself.
I'm also going to say that you also have a knack for understanding men.
You guys are not difficult to understand. That's the truth.
Well, you understand men
Oh,
and
God
you
bless
still
them.
love them.
God bless them.
So I wanted to set the tone for the conversation that we're going to have today by playing for you a clip of an interview that I did with Sharon, who couldn't be with us today. But I think that her perspective represents, I think, what a lot of women generally think about men's profiles online.
A lot of these men are really disgusting. I mean, these guys, what are they thinking? Get a haircut. How about some grooming? How about some teeth whitener? How about put on a nice shirt? How about smile? Present yourself. There's just no effort. These men are putting no effort into the way they look. Even if you're a construction worker or a cop, I don't care. Don't present yourself like a dirtbag. A baseball cap backwards. I mean, they just have no pride. It's sad to me to watch such minimal effort from men in general. And this is how they're going to approach attracting a good woman.
All right, so let's kick this off. I want to talk about what you see when you open up whatever app you're on, whether it's Bumble or Hinge or Match or whatever, and you start scrolling through what they think might be a good match for you. And I'm going to start with you, Meghan. Like, what stands out for you when you start scrolling?
A while ago, I decided that I wasn't going to be a swiper. I was only going to be a swipey because I would get super depressed at the volume of people out there that I felt like, ooh, that's rough, that's rough, that's rough. And I would get super depressed about what was out there. So I was like, okay, I just need to wait till they swipe on me. And so I will only have the paid version where you've got the beeline so you can actually, at least it narrowed it down to people who are already interested. I'm very quick at it. Like I'm quick at everything. I'm quick at making purchases. I'm quick at finding things that I like. And there's just a ton of things that turn me off immediately. And that's probably why I'm still single. But one of them is, the dreaded fish picture. We can't have an episode without talking about the holding of the fish, which I will never understand. And I don't know if men see that on other people's profiles or I did it again. Other people's profiles, or they just are really wanting to show that they can provide for the family with the fish. But that thing is so ubiquitous. Now it's everywhere. And then I think, is this a joke? So anyway.
Well, what I want to know is, do they have like a fish over here and two loaves of bread? And that's like,
Obviously, if the loaf of bread was there, I'd be like, all right, that guy's at least he likes French bread or he likes a bakery or maybe there's something I can relate.
So I want to tell you something, Meghan, that I learned about the fish because I asked that question point blank, like why do all these guys take a picture of them holding like a dead fish or a dead deer? I think it's because they don't have pictures of themselves. And so like where they're the only one in it. And it's not working for them, but that's why they're doing it. They need to ask their friends to take a picture of them.
Good point. Good point.
Shay, have you had the fish picture experience?
No, I never had a fish picture experience, but I know it's out there. I've seen it with my friends. So I know, and I think you're right. I think guys don't have pictures of themselves. That obviously it's a trophy picture. They're proud of it. It's just a bad choice for meeting someone the first time. When you see somebody not taking time for pictures, you wonder how much time they take with other things.
Oh.
I mean, if this is how much they're investing in a relationship, how much time are they really going to invest? And so for me, that was the big question when I saw a really bad, but I know they're not good at it too. So it was that whole,
But
give
you
them a
never
chance,
know. Are
but,
they not good at it, or do they
no.
just not really care enough to put their best out there for us?
And that's the thing. Let's be clear. If we're going to invest in this, invest in it. Go full in, because that's the only way. We have 10 seconds to decide. So you better be invested. I think women understand that more than men do.
Yeah.
Well, it's a marketing brochure at the end of the day,
It's-
right?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, this is a 15-second commercial for Joe Schmo.
I know they're not always just trying to get it done and being pretty thoughtless and not very creative. I think sometimes they truly aren't very creative. Maybe this is the best they have, and they may be a great guy, but they don't have an eye for what looks good. And case in point, all of the bathroom mirror selfies. Like, dude, you may look great, but you need to put the toilet seat down. Like that's cue number one is, I don't want to see that. Or just all of your,
Yeah,
what is it called, for him or his hymns pills on the bathroom counter? No, just no.
Yeah, review the shot before you put it up. You got to look at the whole picture, because I zoom in on stuff too. Like I'll do a screen grab and then zoom in to see like what's that on the floor over there? Is that or or is that his underwear? Or why does he have 3 barbells or whatever the thing is? I don't miss much on that front.
And what about the guys that do the come hither look and they're like stretched out in their bed or the sofa or whatever?
I think at some point it must have got very trendy to do one of those like lay on my bed kind of things. Like you could be looking at me from this angle, lucky you. But if you're not a male model, you shouldn't be doing that one.
It's probably not a good angle, no matter how they're going at it.
You have to remember that guys don't see other guys' profiles. So they have no idea what their competition is. They have no idea what level they need to hit to represent themselves appropriately online, right?
Yeah, they're not as obsessed with social media. Like we're always looking at other women posing. We're constantly looking at that during the day on social, in magazines, before there was online publication. So we are keenly aware of how we look in photographs, to the point where almost everyone puts a hand on a hip and turns 3/4 and puts one leg.
Wait, y'all
bends
do
one knee.
that too?
We learned that in like 3rd grade.
How do you expect to attract something that you're not putting out there?
Exactly.
I mean, that is the lesson for everyone, not just men, is what do you want in a partner, and how do you present yourself like the kind of person you're trying to attract?
And I guess I've thought that if a guy didn't know how to do this, or it was his first time, he would get help. I mean, you would think you would ask somebody to help you, or your friends, or a girl, or something. Get started somehow. I mean, it's a pretty big, if you're really trying to meet a nice, attractive woman, you would think you would give it your best shot.
So
but that
I
is not
actually
the case.
have had several guy friends ask me to help them with their pictures and their profile and stuff. I can understand. I mean, I can imagine that there's guys that aren't going to say, "Hey, dude, will you take my picture and look at my dating profile?" I mean, I get that. I get that.
Right.
But gosh, ask a girl. We're flattered. We want you to be successful. We want to cheer for you.
Somebody who would take a picture of you from farther away than your steering wheel. I mean, so many people take it in the car, and that is just not a good
That's
angle,
a great.
guys.
When you see things like that, I am a little bit suspicious. So I look at that and think, oh, they're hiding that they're doing this. So is he really single? Or is he even comfortable with the fact that he's, dating? Because I don't want to have to clean up after that.
I want to see the full color brochure for this marketing presentation. I want some effort into it.
Yeah, agree.
I want to know that you are invested somehow in this process, because I was.
The photos are the entry point, but I read everything. Before I swipe, if there's an interesting photograph, I look at all the photographs. I deduce, okay, is this just one good shot? Are there more? Look at all the different possible scenarios they've put themselves out in. And then I read everything, where they're from, their sign, all of it before I swipe right.
Let's talk about that, because that's an interesting point, Meghan, is about the breadth of photos that you want to see out there. It's not just maybe they use the corporate headshot, maybe they use a picture with buddies. What else fills out the profile of who this person is
Well,
for
guys,
you?
guys,
Yeah,
you're
right,
going to
right.
have to take a you're going to have to take a selfie or have a friend take one. You're going to have to add that into your little portfolio there.
And it's so easy to have a little tiny tripod for your phone. And it has a self timer on it. An iPhone or any cell phone has a self timer. Find it, put the camera down, get a nice angle of yourself, put yourself in some decent clothes, and take a bunch. Take a bunch till you feel comfortable and you get a good one. Yeah.
So I want to get into what they should be doing in the second half of the show. Let's round out what they're not doing right. So we said no fish pictures, no come hither pictures from the bed,
Bathroom selfies.
no bathroom selfies, no pictures with, and I'm going to add one here because I've actually seen this, is where somebody's had a picture with their ex and
Yeah.
and it's blacked out.
Or worse. Wait, here's another one.
It's the
Here's another
worst.
one where they've taken a picture of a picture. I mean, badly. I mean, I know sometimes the picture's in a frame and you can't really get it out. But if that's the case, that picture's probably too old anyway.
Let's talk about misrepresentation in your photos online.
Well, yeah, in
Yeah.
front, getting off of a private plane when, you basically, you weren't on the plane, you were just like walking by and took a picture of that, or in front of somebody else's Lamborghini, things like that. I don't know that there's an upside to posing in front of someone else's asset, because when you show up, you're not going to have that car or the plane, probably.
Yeah.
Unless it's really your plane, in which case I'd probably swipe right. But I like a full range of casual to dressy and in between. I want to know that they clean up nice, that they can put a tie on, a tux. A tux would be ideal, but again, I'm clearly shallow. I'm not. I don't like what you like. What do you
Girl.
said? People will know it's possible. It doesn't have to always be like that, but if someone is constantly just in a sleeveless tank top or a t-shirt, then there's not a range there of where we might go together.
I agree with you. I figure that the t-shirt and workout singlet, I figure like that guy, that's all he's going to wear. I've already had one of those in my life and I'm going to pass on that this time for sure. I need some variety in your attire.
But we've talked a lot about photos. Let's talk about how they talk about themselves. I would venture to say that the majority of men are not used to emoting online. And yet here you're trying to show all of yourself. Men historically, particularly in this age group that we're talking about, have been taught never to show vulnerability. Do not show weakness. That's absolutely wrong. And so that filters into all of their communication from a text standpoint. So what have you seen in dating profiles that are red flags in how they express themselves?
Thoughtful text is more important, and poignant is more important than a lot of information. But if someone says very pat answers, one that drives me bonkers, and I see it a lot, is all that life has to offer. It's such a pat phrase. All that life has to offer. What does that actually mean? Dig into it. What are you looking for? Not big, broad strokes, what everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
I am such a sucker for smart and funny. A clever guy. I can overlook maybe a bathroom selfie or two if you're smart and funny
Right.
and not wearing a hat.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's all a package. It's a brochure. I will read the whole brochure, but it better have a good feeling at the end, right?
But you have to have that opener or you won't even get to the text. If there's not a decent photo, you won't get to the
Yes.
text.
I'm thinking about in one of your episodes, one of your guests said, beware of the guy that says no drama. When you're telling me what I need to be, or you're telling me, it's like an interview, you're telling me the cut that I need to make. And listen, you're not telling me anything about yourself. I'm not even ready to apply for that job. And you're already giving me all of your points that I need to fill to even get the interview.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think if they come out of the gate, I see a lot that say me and a list of attributes, you, a list of attributes.
Oh, that's
Tired.
funny, actually.
And it's
It's
like, well,
tired.
yeah, no, it's not thoughtful. When I first filled out my profile years ago, I had a good friend who said, you treat it like it's a job and think about it. Don't just write the first thing that comes to your mind or put the first photos that are in your photo library up there. You have to think about it, take it seriously. And so I did. And I do. When I write my own little bio, it takes me a long time to write that because I wanted to represent not only who I am, but what I'm looking for without it being a list of characteristics about another person or something they have to jump over to get to me. It's just more conversational.
To Megan's point, you get out what you put in. If you put the profiles that somebody's put some extra time into, you can see that, and they're going to get more attention than the ones that just slap it together. That's a whole different kind of attention.
Yeah.
So can you guys tell that? Like,
Absolutely.
is that an instant read for you? How much time and effort they put into crafting their profile?
Yeah, we'll have very little text. And it doesn't take long to upload a photo. And if they're just a random grouping of pictures, it's pretty evident that they didn't spend time curating those.
And what does that tell you, Meghan?
I mean, it tells me they're not taking it seriously. And they don't want to present themselves or they want something easy.
Yeah, they're not willing to.
And
Put the effort in. It's an effort. Everything good takes effort. Maybe they're not really good at it, but you need to seek help. I mean,
Seek
and
help,
maybe,
gentlemen.
and over time, maybe they will. I mean, if it doesn't work, who knows where they are on this journey. But at some point, you need to ask for help because, and I know, Kathryn, you've helped people with their profiles. I've helped people with theirs. You got to sit down and think about it. What are you trying to portray here on this brochure? What are you selling? And how good do you want to look? But without going overboard, you don't want to present yourself as something that you're not.
Right.
Either. I've seen guys say in their profiles, no filters. Please don't use filters on your pictures. They want you raw. They just want to see you. Everybody wants a little something different, but we all want
Authenticity.
the truth. We want it all to be you, but we want
authenticity.
we just want it to be real and whatever that is. And so that's all we ask. But it needs to be something more than they're giving us. It's just their face in the car and then a few words, and that's not enough.
It's funny that we're all saying, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. And then we say, but we want you to be authentic. So it's a bit of a mixed signal. And I imagine, right, Hoyt?
There's a fine line of being lazy.
Yeah.
This is not a good picture. And so just put it here. That's fine. But have a couple of pictures. There's just sort of some standards that otherwise we can't really tell. We only have a few seconds to really be able to make a choice. And there's 100 people behind you. And when you only have a few seconds to make a decision and you have to have some criteria to go by, are you going to go with the shiny brochure or the one that was cobbled together as a science fair project? But you have to choose on something. And unfortunately, this is a visual aid. And you're going to be graded on that visual aid.
That is such a great point. But, Hoyt, the other
Mhm.
thing that I'm thinking of as the three of us are sitting here talking, we're three women from three totally different parts of the country. And
Mhm.
yet we all have the same universal
Well,
concept that we're all talking about. We're all looking for three different kinds of guys, but we kind of have we have
that
the
are not
same
getting.
the same offenses we're complaining about.
There are great guys out there with bad profiles, and they're not going to get the playtime.
I think
And so those are the people we want to help. You know, and I help my friends swipe, and I'll see a guy, and you see the diamond in the rough. He's a good looking guy. It's a horrible picture, but they're like, yeah, no. And you swipe, and I'm like, no, wait, go back. Because you can sometimes see, and you want to give them a chance. But some of my friends are they're hardcore. They're cutting so quickly. You need to be 100% from the get go.
I'm not the kind of girl, honestly, that's looking for the perfect looking guy, but I do want a guy that's smart and fun. So if your pictures say, that you're fun, I can picture that working for me. I mean, not everybody is Ryan Gosling. So you just do the best that you can with what you have to work with. And you might come across somebody like me that's really not drawn to appearance, but I'm looking for a happy heart and um
Mm. Yeah, maybe
yes.
put together a little bit. Just kind of put more and looks like they're trying. They're trying. So yeah, it's really not asking for much, but apparently we need to restate our expectations here.
Yeah,
You know,
well-rounded. You don't want someone who is one-dimensional that only
right?
has sport pictures on their profile. I guess there are sporty women out there that's super duper important to them, but when I see photos of every sport you or have ever done, I get that, as you said, Catherine, that maybe that was the only time someone photographed them because it's such a passion of theirs. But if I see all that, I think, look, they spend a lot of time doing sports. When are they going to have time to go out with me or spend time with me or
Do they have a
any,
real
whoever they're
job? I
trying
mean,
to
if you're
date?
playing soccer all the time and, lifting weights all the time and riding your cycling across the world, crossing the finish line, dude, when you go to work?
How am I going to fit in and how are you going to pay for it? Not me. How are you going to pay for yourself? I'm not
Oh,
a sugar baby, I
Sugar
promise.
mama.
all right, that's a good point to take a break. In the second half of the show, I really want to help guys get this right because there are a lot of great guys, as you pointed out, Shay, that simply don't understand how to put their profile together in a way that accurately represents themselves and attracts the kind of people that they're really looking for. So when we come back from the break, that's what we're going to dig into. I hope you're enjoying Behind the Swipe. It's been a true honor for me to hear from so many of you how much you appreciate the work we're doing. But we need your help to spread the word and grow our audience. And there are two things that you can do right now that will be so meaningful to us. First, Apple and Spotify rely heavily on listeners' ratings and reviews to decide which podcast to recommend. So please do so in your app now. And second, if you know someone you think may enjoy Behind the Swipe, please share a link from wherever you listen. Thanks again for all your support. Now, back to the show. So we are back on Behind the Swipe, and I have three daters who are sharing their information about the kind of profiles that men put up and how to improve them. So in the first half of the program, we really focused on photos and text and what guys tend to do wrong. And from my take, it all comes down to you're just not putting enough effort into thinking about how it is that you want to present yourself. So in the second half, I thought we would dig into how they really should be presenting themselves. What are some approaches? Let's start with the photographs. And I want to start with a couple of topics here. The first one is when I was online dating, I was fortunate enough to have a best friend who was also a professional photographer. And I co-opted him after lunch one day into saying, "Hey, could you grab some shots?" And man, I'm telling you, he had enough of an eye, right, that he said, uh, "Take that sweater off, right? Do this, fix your hair. We're going to go out. We're going to get some light that's right. We're going to get a variety of shots." And he probably took 250 shots.
Wow.
And he sent those to me. And the first thing that I did, we had kind of narrowed it down to about 20 of those that might work. And I had a good friend in San Francisco who was a single woman about my age. And I said, "Hey, you've got an eye for this. What should I put on my dating profile?" And we probably sat for 45 minutes as she gave me why this one, why not that one. And so I think we ended up selecting stuff that worked. And to be honest with you, I don't know how much to attribute the success that I felt like I had online to the fact that these were actually pretty good representations of all of the aspects of who I am. So would guys really benefit from if they don't have a friend that's a professional photographer, or they don't have the $1,500 or whatever it would be to hire a professional photographer? What's a good option for that?
I mean, it doesn't have to be a professional photographer that you hire out for the entire day. There are tons of online platforms where you can hire, for 2 hours, 1 or 2 hours, someone to meet you at a park. I think there's one called, I don't know, Flyover, that platform that photographs you in any part of the world. There are apps that you can go to hire just some subcontractor photographer with a decent eye. And it doesn't have to be crazy expensive. It can be an hourly rate versus a full day thing. And with the technology the way that it is in iPhones or just phones in general, you almost always know somebody in your small network of people that has a good eye with their camera. You can look at their social media profiles and say, who of my friends is taking good photographs of themselves and others that is putting them online, and just ask for a favor or do a trade.
Mhm.
Cook you dinner. I'll buy a dinner or whatever.
Exactly. I'll cook the burgers or something, right?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think we all like to, if a guy came and asked me to do that, I would totally do it. No one has, but I would. I think it'd be
It's
fun.
not that hard. It just takes time. You have to ask. You have to, again, it's a little bit of effort, but it's really, it can be free. I think iPhones are fine pictures. Just don't take them super close and get somebody else to just do it. That's the step. Step one is have someone else take the picture. Don't do it yourself.
Uh,
Don't do it in a mirror. Don't do it sitting in the car. Just have someone else take it. I don't care if it's, the cashier. Just have them take the picture. You
well,
can edit out the rest of it, but,
and part of it, and I think, Shay, you were talking earlier about the value of having a lot of pictures to choose from, right? A lot of choices. So get a lot of shots so you can pick the few out of that. And the ones that I remember responding to for women were not the posed ones, they were the candid ones,
Mhm.
the ones where I'm just catching this shot captured them in their natural habitat, so to speak, right? This
Right.
was not somebody that's staring at the camera and putting on whatever smile and what was that, lug forward and hip and arm on
We'll
the
show you
hip.
later.
Yeah, the
Like
one hand on hip, leg bent, the
best
3/4 angle.
side. Mhm. It's harder to get those natural pictures because a lot of times you're with friends or if you're trying to get a natural picture from a professional photographer, it's still posed. So,
Yeah.
in a way, so it doesn't look as natural. But some people just don't have a lot of pictures going out with friends or anything. So they're going to have to come up with something, but just a couple. There were profiles where there were only maybe 3 pictures, but they were good enough to so he cleans up and he's dressed nicely and he's put together and it was effort, right? So
All right. So decent photos, whether they're shot professionally or shot with a friend on a decent camera or camera phone, really
Current
make a big difference. That's what I'm hearing you say, right?
and current photos, when someone puts a picture of who they used to be up there, and it doesn't have to be within the last few years,
Yeah.
but if it's from 1979, because they want to show that I used to be this person, even though maybe I'm not this person now, maybe you can see into me about who I used to be. Although I do find that interesting as I'm getting to know somebody, I do want to see their pictures from their youth or the highlights of their lives as they've captured them and they have them around the house or in albums. But that's something to discover about somebody as you get to know them, not something that you want to lead with.
All right. So let's talk about the variety of pictures. What's the ideal set in your mind? Like, what does it convey? What is the breadth of that person that their photographs
I
should
don't remember
convey?
if it was Meghan or if it was
Like,
Shay that said it, but like kind of having the full spectrum of like what they are into, something casual, something formal, and then at least some things in between.
And also, I remember I like a beach picture because I like the beach. I mean, also maybe show what you like to do or who you are. Sports are fine, one picture, not six, if that's what you like. If you like to work out, I mean, you don't need to see that. You can say that. But I think that you're trying to tell a story as concisely as you can with a few pictures and a few words. So you need to narrow it down to really what you're trying to say. Who are you really? What do you like to do? What are the things, what are you trying to tell this woman about you in this very short span? You'll have plenty of time to elaborate later, but you've got
You
a
know-
very short time to really
On that
get
note,
across.
if your hobby or your passion is you're a fantastic angler or a hunter, fair enough. You can include a picture, but don't lead with that. Don't lead with a picture of you with the
Yeah.
creature that you have just killed with that. No.
No.
I mean, if that's your thing and you're looking for somebody to hunt with, listen, I'm from Texas. That's a thing. But don't lead with it.
But maybe write
Ooh.
that. Maybe put that in your
That
in
would
your
be good
bio
too.
instead of having a picture of something like that. I mean, use your best judgment, but that's why I think there need to be people who maybe do this for a living.
If you're not willing to invest in this, then that shows you're pretty cheap too.
That's a really, really good point. And I was thinking about that when we were talking about the professional photographer. Obviously, that's not inexpensive to do, right? If you're going to hire somebody, even for a few hours, that's not going to be cheap. But if you are looking for a long-term relationship that you are going to invest your person into, who you are, you're going to invest this. What is that worth? It's a bargain price if you're looking for a romantic partner.
I mean, I'll relate it to the real estate industry that I'm in. I can't put a property for right now, I have a property for sale at a high price point. I have expensive pictures of it. I had to. It's part of the marketing cost to represent the property to the right buyer. And if you aren't willing to invest in yourself like that, then it says so much about your
Great point.
priorities.
And I think some people start out by saying, "Well, I'll give it a try. I'll just try online dating," and they just throw it together, and it's half-hearted to begin with, and they really are fully in. And I think a lot of people may start out that way, and they don't want to invest in it because they're not really sure it's for them or it's going to work. But it's kind of all or nothing, because if you don't, it's probably not going to go well, and then you'll never know if it was going to work for you or not. So I think it's just go ahead and invest and see, and go 100% or go all or nothing.
Go big or go home, huh?
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
and you can use us, and it's super empowering, by the way, to finally get images of yourself that, like you said, Hoyt, the photographer that you traded with and took pictures for you,
Yep.
that you felt he really captured who you are in all the different assets of your personality. Uh, and I think that it's a really self-empowering thing to do, to see yourself as others might see you and feel good about it. And you feel good about yourself. And I know a lot of people don't like having their picture taken because they maybe have never had their picture taken by a professional. And it feels very different when you have something that you are proud to display, even. And you could then use it on your LinkedIn profile. If there's a great headshot of you, probably will get you work too and be a moneymaker.
That's a really good point because it's not that different from how you feel when you get a new suit or something, right? It gives you a little extra oomph, a
The
little extra
clothes make a
power,
man.
right?
It's
It's your
swagger.
swagger, right? And I think that's really important in a dating profile to convey for men is this right balance between confidence and arrogance. It's like you want to be able to tell that this is a confident person. And that confidence is displayed in how much they feel about themselves and how much effort they put into their presentation online. People are attracted to strong, competent people who are comfortable in their own skin. And so that is really what you're trying to convey. And you convey that in your photos and you convey that in what you write. So I want you to think about what people that you've seen, men that you've seen online, and what they've written about themselves and why you judge that to be high quality. So, Shay,
Okay.
I happen to know that the photographs that your boyfriend put online were, I thought, pretty amazing. And it's not that he's Brad Pitt. I mean, he's a good looking guy, but he's not a Brad Pitt, Paul Rudd, or
Right.
Ryan Gosling.
Look, she's
But he
shaking her head.
presented
Like,
himself.
yes, he is. He is.
I mean, no.
but he
Close enough. Close enough.
but he presented a level of confidence in his profile that made you say, "Oh, there's something here." Can you tell me about that?
And in fact, I knew just from his profile, I said, this might be the one.
Wow.
I mean, it was so well done. I could tell so much about him, and it was he is a very concise person anyway. But I could tell things he liked to do. I knew he liked to cook. I knew he was sarcastic, and I was all in on that. It's a good sense of humor. He was very well educated. I knew, just from where he went to school, and knew he liked the beach. There were pictures of beach in there. I knew he liked animals. So there was a lot I garnered from that profile that really was probably the best profile I saw. There were a couple that were similar, but I mean, as far as the entirety. So it was just so comprehensive. So his pictures and the profile, I could tell he was going to be a fun person to have a conversation with. I could tell he was fun, especially the one in the tuxedo and the drink and everything. And there were a lot of clues. And it was a conversation starter. And you want to have something to jump off on in your profile. It just makes it easier. And you have a good profile. And it's almost like you already kind of know them on the first date. We had a lot to talk about because I already knew we had a lot in common. And that's what the profile is for. So if you don't put things that are about you, when you get to the first date, you're really starting from scratch anyway. So why have it? Dig deep, but keep it simple. There's got to be a formula to
No.
it.
You said something that I think is really hit the nail, is comprehensive, meaning
All angles.
get into the details. All aspects. We're complex people. Everyone is. We're not one-dimensional or two-dimensional. We have all kinds of aspects to us, and we should represent it.
The greatest part about online dating is that you meet someone in a bar, you know nothing about them. You have no idea. It's very difficult to meet out like that. For me, it made it so much easier because you got a head start. And then you can talk on the phone and then you can text and you haven't even met yet in person. And I went through so many people before I never met them because I didn't get that far. So to me, this is a fantastic platform if it's used correctly. Used incorrectly,
You
you're not
know,
leaving the house.
the point that we haven't really talked about that I think is really critical here is that you have to have put some thought into knowing yourself before you put it out there. You have got to put some
Ooh.
time into knowing yourself. And sometimes it's just like, I don't remember which one you said, ask a friend or a girlfriend. Maybe that was me that said that. I don't know. But ask somebody else for their input because we don't always see ourselves in an accurate light. And especially if you're coming out of a previous relationship that, you're still harboring some heartache from that. You may forget how spectacular you are. Let one of your friends tell you, but know thyself.
That's a good point. I have seen quite a few profiles. The text leads with, according to my whatever, daughter, sister,
Fish.
best friend, they say I'm like this. If you don't like, you hate that one.
I
You hate
interrupted.
the
You
one
said
that's like a
according to
fish
my
one.
girlfriend, my mother, my daughter, and I said my fish.
Right. Exactly. I'm a good catch. If you're uncomfortable writing about yourself in that way, it feels too intimate. You can ask someone, how would you describe me?
Fair. That's
Okay.
that's
But like Meghan, shouldn't they just own that, even though it was their sister that said, "Oh,
They
you're
do.
this, that, and the other," not attribute it like
Oh, I
Right.
say, just
fair.
other
right.
people
That's
say, but like own it, because doesn't that betray some lack of self-confidence if it
like a lack of confidence completely. Like you don't want to admit any of that or something. Yeah, it's kind of odd. I've never seen one written that way,
Yeah,
but
I see it all the time. So fun.
really,
Yeah.
At the
Yes,
end of the
Catherine.
day, I really do believe that there's somebody for everybody. Now, when you're going online, you have to hope that your somebody is going to stay interested and engaged enough to uncover what you've put out there in your profile. But there really is somebody for everybody. Again, make your brochure the best offering of what you are, and your somebody is going to find you. Your somebody's going to find you. It may not be right away. Don't be discouraged. It's a lot of digging. It's a lot of sifting and sorting and panning for gold. But there really is somebody for everybody.
That's a really important point, Catherine, because it's all about, as we've talked about a number of times on this podcast, it's all about timing and proximity, right? But it's timing because you're right person, you're right fit. And I don't believe in the concept of a single soulmate. I think there are thousands,
Your soul may
right?
mate
That you
and
would
remate and remate again.
absolutely, absolutely connect
Maybe
with.
3 times.
But are they within your orbit? Are they close enough? Is their timing right? I mean, all of us have been in relationships before, and the last 5 years or 10 years of those relationships might not have been great. And if your right person was coming along, you would have completely missed it. It was gone, right? Because they were in that place at a time when you weren't available, and that might have been a potential
Yeah, it's
soulmate.
impossible to completely miss the
What?
boat. I mean,
No, you could totally do that, right? Because it is about what's available to you in the moment. And so, to your point, Catherine, you may not have success with the authentic profile that really represents you. That's a good marketing brochure for who you actually are. You may not find that right person, and it may not generate 100 likes today or tomorrow. It may be next year, it may be 5 years from now, but you can't stop putting that out there because that's who you are. If you put that representation of yourself out into the world and you're comfortable with it and it's who you are, it will eventually connect you with that person that you were, I'm going to say meant to be with, even though well, I don't know what that means, right? But the timing, proximity, and authenticity all come together in energy that just makes it happen right. So Shay, I'm going to start with you. Final thoughts about just the simple things that they can do to represent
You know,
themselves better online.
they need to put more time and thought into curating pictures and their profile. And if they feel like they can't do it on their own, they need to ask for help from someone who knows them. And it can be anyone, but it will be better than them if they don't have a clue. So just put some effort in it. That's it. I mean, it really will pay off in the end.
Meghan,
I mean, I would my advice would be to look at your life and observe the things that you put a lot of effort into, like maybe a sport or a hobby or your job or your kids. And if you approach dating with the same level of importance that you give to other things in your life that you value, that will translate to a woman of value, if that's what you're looking for, to see it.
Okay, they took all the good ones. I loved the idea of really a full spectrum representation of who you are and why you may be a good match for me, because it is a lot of sorting and sifting to get there, and give me something that's worth considering. Slow me down enough to not get sifted right on out. Be funny, be smart, be you.
I mean, that's a great point. And Shay made this earlier, which is basically you got 15 seconds, right? You got 15 seconds at most to make
Most.
enough of an impression for somebody to make a permanent slight.
Permanent.
Yeah.
They're not coming back.
You're not coming back. So this is your opportunity. And you might as well just say who you really are. You might as well just put out there who your authentic self is, because that's what's going to be ultimately connecting with someone. Shay, Morgan, Kathryn, thank you so much for joining me today on the show and sharing your insights and experiences. This was such fun. We opened this episode of Behind the Swipe on a somewhat negative note. I think I called it an intervention. Maybe that was a little strong, but I think you get it by now. Getting your profile right can make all the difference in finding success in online dating. And as we heard from our daters, it's not rocket science. It boils down to these 4 key elements. 1, be authentic. Use your few photos and lines of text to show who you really are, not who you think they want. It can seem counterintuitive, but a little vulnerability can convey confidence, and that's a very attractive characteristic. 2, show off the full breadth of your interests and personality. One-dimensional profiles define you as narrow and can read as shallow, and don't forget a touch of humor. 3, get help. Ask a female friend who cares about you to help select the right photos for your profile. Not only can they sometimes see strengths and attractiveness in you that you might not see yourself, they're also viewing your profile through the lens of a prospective romantic partner, and that's something you can't do. Number 4, finally, and if you remember one takeaway from what we heard today, it's this: show that you made an effort. Take the time to thoughtfully craft a profile that truly represents you. The payoff just might be finding that next great relationship. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Behind the Swipe. Please share the link to this or any other episode with anyone you think might benefit from a better, richer dating life. I'm Hoyt Prysock. Join us again next week for another episode of Behind the Swipe. Until then, swipe fearlessly.